My Andrew. Yeah, well, I can't access it because my computer's off. You got that? What's the story with the scoreboard?
Welcome to Suzuki Stadium. We've got a rib-tickling match coming up this afternoon as the East Tigers take on the PNG Hunters. And this is an absolutely crucial match, particularly for the Tigers, but for both teams. In real danger of losing contact with the top six. Before last week, the Tigers had a much-needed win and a very impressive win, defeating last week Wynnum by 54 points to 16. Before that, the Tigers really were in danger of falling away from that top six and getting too far behind. Likewise, PNG, who had a very slow start to the season, last year's premiers, have started to rebound in the last few weeks with 3 wins on the trot. They've climbed up to 9th place on the ladder, 1 position ahead of the Tigers in 10th place. So there's so much on the line this afternoon as these two go head-to-head here at Suzuki Stadium. Home game for the Tigers. So far this season, though, David, home games haven't been all that valuable for the Tigers. They've lost 2 out of the 5, 1-2 out of the 5.
Yeah, surprisingly so. Normally it's your fortress. You like to think you're pretty hard to beat at home. Well, the Tigers haven't done that. They've had really, by their own standards, a poor season. We're right at the halfway point of the year. We've had 11 games, got 11 to go. The Tigers, as you say, has only won 4 matches. Now that is not good enough. I've had a bit of a look at what the final situation might be. You've probably got to win at least 12 games, and even then you might be into a for and against to get into the top 4 or 5. So really they might have to win 9 out of the next 11, the Tigers. So there's a big ask for them here. Interesting to see how they went last week. Walking in, a number of the crowd, I asked the question, apart from the 54 points, obviously that would tell you they've attacked really well, but the general feeling was, yes, finally we've clicked, and they'll need to keep clicking because, as you say, they've got to start to put back-to-back wins together now, and the Kummels will not be easy. They're coming off 3 wins, and the only thing we talk about this, the Tigers haven't won too many here this year. The Kummels have a bad record away. They've only won 1 out of 6 away, so it's a game the Tigers will be targeting as they're going to target the rest of the season, and it'll be interesting to see how they go.
Well, having said the Kummels have only, the Hunters in this case,
yes.
The Hunters in the Intrust Super Cup have only won 1 away from home. It's just now they're starting to hit form, as you say. They've won 3 in a row. They beat Wynnum away from home 18 to 16, beat the Capras at home 18 to 10, and then last week too good for Townsville, a good win at home in PNG, 12 points to 8. But in terms of the Hunters, they too are starting to hit form, and it's been a while coming. I think today there's going to be 9 players out of the 17 who took part in last year's grand final and won that grand final in those very exciting dying moments. So it's taken them a while to just sort of get back into a bit of momentum. As we said, the Tigers, though, are in the same sort of thing and the same sort of situation. I don't know whether 1 win against Wynnum means they're back, because they had 4 losses back-to-back before that. I mean, the Tigers' recent record went down to Tweed, to Norths, South Logan, had the bye and then lost to Burleigh. Then had that big win over Wynnum last week. I noticed Coach Scott Sipple said, at last, we were rewarded for effort, 80% completions in both halves last week, and it all came together for the Tigers. They've got to do it again today, David.
That'll be the big test, Warren, whether last week was an aberration, whether it was just a flash in the pan. But what I did also hear about last week was obviously they've attacked brilliantly. 10 tries is very good for any particular side, and we've covered all their games here at home this year. They've got that attacking ability, but it's what's always concerned me has been perhaps some lack of fire and power in defence. You've got to dominate in defence to be able to let you score 10 tries. So today will be a huge test, because the Papua New Guinea boys, they always play hard and tough. You can absolutely guarantee you're going to be sore after playing these boys. So the big test for the Tigers will be, can they replicate what I heard was a very good defensive performance last week. 54 points, yes, but they tell me they finally got that line speed. The boys ripped in. That's exactly what they're going to have to do today. But unfortunately, one of their key players from last week, one of the Melbourne Storm players who played last week against Wynnum, Christian Welch, originally named in the side, is not available today. Now, he was based on stats alone, the best in attack and the best in defence last week. So he is a big loss to the Tigers, and they will have to make up for that particular work rate. Otherwise, the gaps will be there as they have been in other matches.
Indeed, yeah, the loss of Welch is a shame. Otherwise, no changes to the East lineup, so it's mostly positive in that sense. What is a little different. You talk about Christian Welch being out. Michael Egan will come into the team. Now, Michael Egan has come through the East system in the last few years, so hopes are there for him, but he's not one of the Melbourne Storm brigade. He's an East junior. It's a big job to do in the second row today. The other thing that's been happening lately is that Billy Walters has been getting into dummy half a lot. Now, he's going out there with the number 6 on his back, but he's spending half the game at dummy half, so watch for that today. I mean, there's still a couple. We've got two other potential dummy halves in the team, Ollie Olds and also Chris Osborne.
Yep.
So with Walters going in there as well, there's 3 guys at various stages of the game playing dummy half, but Billy Walters is definitely giving them impetus out of dummy half, and something's turned the corner.
Yeah, it's an interesting tactic, and Billy Walters also, well, he kicked pretty well in last week's game. The guy who really had a good game too was Brodie Croft, so you know, you could appear, at least by the stats, I wasn't aware Walters played so much at dummy half, but the 2 halves, you know, the 6 and the 7, looked to be heavily involved. Walters ran a lot. There was a lot of run meters for Walters. So obviously Scott Sipple has decided he needed a bit more spark there, and Walters would certainly be able to give that to him. Crofty's kicking game was true. It's very interesting time for Brodie Croft now, because as we know, Riley Jacks has got the jump on him with the Melbourne Storm. So he suffered the disappointment of being dropped early in the season. He's now been back for probably 4 or 5 weeks. It's now time for him to be restating his position and really forcing Craig Bellamy to say, well, when am I due back again? Because Bellamy, when he dropped him, he said, look, he's not gone, he'll be back, no doubt about it. So it's time for Brodie Croft to show back-to-back, week-to-week, that he can dominate these games, because if you don't dominate here, it's highly unlikely you're going to dominate at the NRL.
We'll take a look at the 2 lineups in just a moment. The injured list, players unavailable for the Tigers, still pretty long. You've got Jake Foster, Adam Creer, James Salter, all on the injured list. Dave Tyrrell, Shane Newman, Tommy Butterfield, Jared McCallum still aren't back in action. And okay, we've got the Tigers lineup there now. So, and in sparkling form last week at fullback, Scott Drinkwater. On one wing, the right wing, Link Port. Connor Carey at right centre, combining beautifully with Port. Left centre is Chase Blair, who'll be wearing number 18 in the first half. Jared McAnally is on the left wing. Billy Walters 5'8", Brodie Croft at halfback. In the front row, Matthew Grote and Brett Grenke will be the props, with Ollie Olds starting in the hooking role. Michael Egan comes into the second row alongside Patrick Kaufusi. Jack Svensson is a lock forward, and on the bench it's Chris Ostwald, Ash Little, Kelma Tuolangi playing his second game for the Tigers, and Harley Aono. And David, I might point particularly to Jared McAnally with the little C against his name. Isn't it a great thing to see a winger captaining a team?
Warren, it is unheard of. I have
not
never
unheard of. Not unheard of.
Who has done it? Who has done it before? They must be getting desperate to have. No, mate. We know you did captain with great distinction.
I paved the way.
Yeah, for the Magpies, wasn't it? The West Magpies in Sydney, and that was Roy Masters was the coach. That was a gun side. Who else did you have in that side in those days?
Oh, there was Terry Lamb, and Les Boyd had just left. That was the year after. A lot of players went to Manly. Les Boyd and John Doherty went, and Tommy Rodonicus left and went to Newtown with Graham O'Grady, and that was why I thought it was a fairly obvious choice that I should follow the great Tommy Rodonicus as captain of the Magpies. Similar personalities.
Mate, absolutely. I've often said that.